Hello everyone, it's time for another little weekend conversation. I do kind of want to shoot for Sunday on these, but it's not a hard, fast rule, and I've got other things in mind I'm going to need the time for. But for now, I thought while it's still the first month of the year and we still have 2016 fresh in our minds for better or worse, it's time to go over what the best Transformers of the year actually were. At least in this humble reviewer's opinion, because this is all opinion. When I say best of 2016, what I mean is my favorite of 2016, which is mostly the stuff I actually have. So if I didn't get it, then I don't really have much opinion on it, so it just kind of varies. But for the most part, it's just what I felt did the best job representing Transformers in 2016, or the toys that just seem to stand out for one reason or another. And the list is going to start with my little cheat sheet here. It's going to start at number 10 with Titans Return Alpha Trion. And that might surprise, because some people, other reviewers especially, were really dogging on this toy, and I don't know why, because I genuinely really enjoyed it. I thought of all the Titans Return Voyagers, it's done the best job of disguising its modes from each other. The big, blocky, blockade runner style, spaceship, and then that kind of round and organic shaped lion coming out of the same toy is pretty impressive, especially when the only detail you can really spot out between the two is the cockpit being the same between both of them. That's actually a really cool thing, to be able to go to those two modes and only keep one major detail. That's impressive to me, and I really enjoyed the variety those provide, especially considering right now it's the only Voyager beast we have in the Titans Return toy line. And then you have the robot mode itself, which I thought looked really cool. Is it Alpha Trion from G1? No, it isn't. We still do not have the accurate one. And that's a toy line that was kind of going for accuracy for G1. But in this case, Alpha Trion isn't just a G1 character. He's one of the original 13. And in that concept, I think that's a really appropriate look for him. It's regal, it's powerful, it feels like it carries authority. The kind of authority you get when you're one of the original 13 Transformers. So for that, I really like the design from top to bottom. Number 9 is going to be Titans Return Triggerhappy, which much to my surprise was making people's number 1 pick of the whole year. Now, to be fair, some of that might be the new toy shine, because it came out at the tail end of 2016. It's still one of the newest deluxes available in the US market as of this video, and you could just be really into that toy and then a couple weeks later go, well, it does have a few issues. You know, for me, I will admit, it's got a whole bunch of kibble hanging off its arms that kind of detracts for me. But what I can't take away is a really cool jet mode that's really true to the G1 toy. A really cool transformation, which you don't really expect anymore out of the current toy lines and the reduced budgets that they have to suffer from. You still got a really good, involved, and interesting transformation, though, that led to a really cool looking robot. And it was a pretty well-engineered toy all around for that. So I can see why it made the list. Not so high on mine, but I will acknowledge it's one of the better deluxes that came out over the course of the last year. Number 8, I'm giving to the MyPad Soundwave. That might surprise, because guess what? Toy-wise, he's not a lot. You saw in the review, he's got some articulation deficiencies, and you don't really get a whole lot of play value out of a toy tablet. You know, it's not even one of those cheap ones you give to a kid that makes all of the sounds you'd get out of an old keychain. It's just a flat board. But that's why it's on my list. It's a flat board, and it turns into a 3-dimensional robot. Sheerly on the level of engineering, it is incredibly impressive to me. And it's kind of Soundwave doing what he's had his minions do for a long time. Here, I know you're a Jaguar, I know that you're this Condor, but guess what? I need you in a really flat shape to fit in my chest. So you're going to get pressed down, get in there. Now it's his turn to be flattened out. And he actually survived it pretty well. Lack of articulation aside, he comes up with a really interesting look, and it makes a really unique package. And the extra mile of having this die-cut instruction sheet, as well as just being presented just like an actual tablet you would buy in a firm box, in a, with a cardboard insert holding it, with right down to like the protection paper, like the static-proof paper around it. It was a experience almost getting that toy, just getting the toy out of the box, and that plays into it. I think overall, just as far as presentation and engineering goes, it is definitely one of the best we got. At number 7, a toy I admit I don't own, but I own all the toys that come in the set. So all I can really add is, hey, pretty colors. But it's going to Takara's Convobat. I originally had Mindwipe on this list until I realized, hey, there's a much cooler one that came out in Japan. The only reason I don't have it is because, whoo, he is expensive for a deluxe. But what I saw was a really clever repaint, and what I was hoping they would do from the get-go. They have a new bat mold. It's the 20th anniversary of Beast Wars. Let's re-release one of the original designs. We'll repaint him and give him the actual head of Optimus Prime, or in this case, it was Sentinel Prime's head, which is close enough when you paint it blue. And it actually works. It actually looks really, really good. And adding in little touches like like a pair of swords for him, and that super clever repaint of Ape Face as Optimal Optimus, really cool. And packing in an extra head so you can turn a spare Skull Smasher into Mega Gator. All around, that's a really cool package. I really wish they went the whole hog on that one and gave you the full body and gave you like that two-tone green gator to go with it, but I will take what we got. And at the very least, it's more than Hasbro gave us for the 20th anniversary. But nevertheless, even aside from that, I really liked the Ape Face toy. It's extremely cool little, and one of my favorite of the individual Titan Masters. I really like Mindwipe. Well, we've had a lot of toys lately that have taken panels off of their vehicle modes or alt modes of any kind and folded them up into solid limbs, kind of boxed them together. And I think Mindwipe is kind of the culmination of that, turning the full wingspan of his bat mode into his legs, which not only cleans him up immensely, it's a really clever way of getting some solid legs out of him. And it worked. Oh, it worked so well. So that one worked really well for me. I wish I had the toy to actually be like officially declare it, yes. But it does make the list because I've got enough experience with the molds to actually know. And number 6, I'm giving to Masterpiece Shockwave, or I guess MP29 Laser Wave is more precise on this one. This was design elegance. Masterpiece toys are about getting them from one super accurate mode to another super accurate mode in as few steps as possible, with the most intuitive transformation they can manage, and still manage to work in enough engineering to be interesting. And I think Shockwave did that. It's not too far off from his G1 mode, or his G1 Toys transformation, but extra elements like getting the barrel to fold up to his backpack without having to dismantle any parts. Big plus. Having some electronic features, which Masterpiece rarely does. Big plus. And it just ended up looking like a really, really good Shockwave. It's one of those times when you don't really have to muddle with the original so much, because the original kind of did it right the first time. And it does help that, being such an alien design, he already looked a lot like his cartoon and his toy incarnation. Not a whole lot that you really need to do to change it. And that again is one of those toys that had super clever elements, like having an accessory of a little Shockwave, which is not only great for your other Masterpiece toys, but it replicates an animation error, a really famous animation error from the original cartoon. That's the kind of fun that I expect Masterpiece to have more often. And again, really clever elements of engineering. The pipe that is such a problem with a rubber degrading on the original, a very compact and very loose spring, so it works and looks like a hose, but it's not going to break down over time. Again, brilliant, and it works so well. So it's not the highest up we've got other masterpieces to go on the list, but I think it deserves its position there. Maybe just a little bit lacking toy-wise, I guess. At number 5, Takara Legends Blur. So I did this review twice. We admit the US mold is really, really good. It's about as good of a blur as we ever got. Its colors suck. I don't know why they went with one shade of blue for the whole robot, but they did. Luckily, that's what we have Takara for. They go and they do a full paint job to the figure. It looks gorgeous. And everything's tightened up a little bit. All the tolerances and all the joints feel just that little bit better. So you have all the play value. You have all this really nice accuracy, this great transformation, super sleek car mode. And then you have that robot mode that just harkens back so hard to his original character from the movie. It's everything I ever wanted out of a Blur toy, and everything I couldn't get out of things like, repaints of Generations Drift. All of those homages, all of those tributes over the years to Blur, this is finally the toy that gave him his due. That was a really special toy for me to come out, because it finally filled one of those gaps in my collection that has been vacant for so long. And of course, it's thanks to Takara's just sheer level of detail and just a strict attention to what the toy needed to be. Right down to a painted Titan Master, which I'll tell you, they're way better when you can actually see paint and detail on those little things. They actually feel like toys themselves. So if you can only get the US version, that one's still good, but Takara just did it better. Coming up next on the list, again for Takara, doing it better. Number 4, Legends Super Ginrai. So this is Power Master Optimus Prime here for our American fans. So Takara wasn't really happy with the US version, because the US version's like strangely armored up and really hollow in some spots. It's a really uncomfortable look, especially like on the inside of his forearms. So they went and they decided, well, we'll just do it the right way. So they re-engineered the arms completely. So ironically, the US version, the original toy, undid Takara, like the G1 Super Ginrai had a fist that slid out of the arms. So the US version neutered that for budget. Well, same thing kind of happened. The Takara version added a slide to the arms as part of the transformation. So it's kind of weird how history repeated itself there. Hasbro taketh, Takara put backeth. And they created a really cool one that really hit my nostalgia. That was the Prime I had growing up. And Hasbro's version just didn't cut anything. It didn't cut it for me. It was, I don't know, it was just designed wrong in the wrong spots. I didn't like the heavily armored belly look, and I didn't like the look of the trailer all that much. Takara filled out all the gaps. They, got the look tightened up, and of course the robot mode. It's so nice. It feels like a modern upgrade of the toy I grew up with, the toy I called Optimus Prime for my childhood. That's what I want out of a retro figure. That's what I want. That hits that little beat of nostalgia I need. We're not going to talk about the base mode because it's a pretty slipshod base mode, but hey, for what it is a fantastic toy. Very fantastic toy. So, we go on. We're going to the top 3 now. All join me. At number 3, we have another Masterpiece toy. And this time, it's Convoy. Or Beast Wars Optimus Primal, I guess I should say. So, we're finally here. 20th anniversary of Beast Wars. Takara is the ones who decided we're going to honor Beast Wars by producing the very first Masterpiece figure for that series. And man, they nailed it. Oh my god, did they nail it. I got them like right here. They nailed it so hard I need to keep them by my head. So for starters, you got this super nice looking gorilla mode. Of course, there's a few bits and pieces that they can't hide because you can't shell up the entire toy to hide every piece of robot, because it's a humanoid turning into a humanoid. But for what they did, a lot of little tricks, like the fact that his neck can move to be either upright or like down hunched like an actual gorilla. The fact that the gorilla mode has alternate faces, the robot mode has alternate faces. Again, you work in an LED gimmick. I kind of like those in masterpieces. I don't know why, but I seem to be giving them extra points. What nails it is a super clever transformation that takes some shell of the beast mode and doesn't really do anything with it. And what I mean by that is it has a transformation trick to it where the shell of the beast mode becomes the shell of the robot mode. And while it does change in appearance and change position, it still goes exactly where it needs to be, and it feels like it fits. Like it feels like that's exactly what it was supposed to do. Like to take a chunk of his thigh and swivel it down and make it become the back of his leg, and somehow it's show accurate both ways. That's a really cool trick, and it's done 3 times on the toy. It's a really clever piece of engineering. Again, clever engineering wins you big points for me. More clever is they went all out to create this look of fur while still keeping the molding smooth, so you have the look of the CG model. It was a very unique paint process. Almost the same kind of thing they used to create like camouflage paint patterns on like outdoor gear. It's a lot more involved than just standard, just having a machine spray brush it somewhere. But the result was this really intricate fur paint job across the entire beast mode, and thus, of course, most of the robot mode. It has this very subtle texture to it, so it feels like there's a slight organic nature to it. It's a very subtle touch, but it changes that tactile sensation of the toy. You get a little bit of an X factor out of it, I guess. It is all around one of the better done masterpiece toys, right down to just really nice accessories and really, again, really playful. It's a level of getting between where fans of the toy and fans of the show will want it, that I think hits extremely well. So that one's high up on the list. Number 2, I'm going to cheat. Because number 2 is Computron. Not any particular Computron. I want to do a video at some point comparing the Hasbro and Takara releases of Computron. Combiner Wars versus Unite Warriors. And it's a little bit of a spoiler, but to be honest, I find them to be pretty equal. If I have to pick absolutely one, only one on the list, then I have to put childhood nostalgia and price point aside and judge based solely on what is a better set of toys. And in that sense, I would have to say Takara's. So if you pin me down, I'm going to tell you Takara's Computron would be my number 2. That said, it's only 5 toys compared to 7 toys that you get for a cheaper price. And if you are like me and you grew up with the toys, there's going to be elements to the Hasbro version that hit your nostalgia way harder than Takara's version. Afterburner in particular. That's a toy that survived my childhood. I've owned that toy for most of my life. So to have him in orange is a much more important thing to me than to have him in show-accurate colors. Which, by the way, aren't entirely show-accurate. He was orange and red in the show. It depends on the episode. That's annoying. But that's a lot, and that's a little bit of a rant for another video. For now, I will tell you, either one is a really good Computron. Either one gives you a great variety of vehicles. And while all of them, both are deficient in some ways, but excel in others. You can tell that regardless of whether it was done by remolding or trying to repurpose as best as they could, both did try really hard to give you the best Computron they were capable of giving. So pick whichever one you want, enjoy it, because they are a fantastic set of toys. Okay, now before we get to number 1, we do the typical list thing and go with an honorable mention roll, because there's always some that get left off the list and people's favorites just never make it on. It's not a slight on you or the ones you liked over the course of 2016. It's just either I didn't own them to experience them, though that didn't stop me with the Convobat, now did it? Or just, they didn't hit me the way they hit you. That's why it's opinion. That's why it's really a favorite of 2016, not a best of. even though the title says best of. Let's never mind, I'm stalling. So, for honorable mentions, Masterpiece Inferno. That's going to set some people off a little bit. I will admit, the latter is extremely clever. They did an incredible job of transforming and hiding the ladder for the robot mode. Exceptional job. Again, Takara, clever engineering. That said, I didn't really find as much clever engineering to the rest of the robot. It just kind of felt a little bit more run-of-the-mill. And while it is accessory-loaded, it's so heavily slanted toward the cartoon version without incorporating almost any elements from the toy version that I feel like it misses the balance it needs to for a Masterpiece release. I really needed it to sneak some of the toy elements back into there so it didn't look so straight up plain, I guess, because I don't know. Like, one transformation trick doesn't make a toy for me. I guess it is. It's still a really, really good toy, just not in my top 10. And that's largely because as a Masterpiece toy, I think it has some deficiencies. You know, you gauge it differently. You know, I can gauge a Titan's Return figure because it's only like $15, 15 to 20, depending on retail. A Masterpiece toy that size is over 100, so I have to hold it to a higher regard. So a little thing like that is going to keep it off the list entirely. Another honorable mention, since we don't want to leave RID off here, under that same circumstance, there are a few RID toys that, for the money and for the noted budgets we know that toy line has, I did find some really good figures. In particular, ones like Thunderhoof, Quillfire, and especially Paralon did a lot more for me than I expected them to, and they were much more fun figures than I was expecting. And some of them, like Paralon over here, actually do have some really clever engineering to them in spite of their toy line. They kind of outdo the expectations, which again brings my opinion of them up, just not high enough to quite make the list. And just to not leave out TFCC entirely here, I will also throw in a nod for Impactor. Someone offered me an Impactor over Twitter, and they were charging me like how much it cost out of that, like actual cost for the figure, and I wish I could have taken them up on it at the time, because it's a really good looking toy that uses a fantastic mold, by the way, one of the best in Combiner Wars, and I think it is the best mold they could have picked to be Impactor. It's a perfect choice, from the size to just the fact you can have a harpoon hand for him. You know, it is about as ideal of an Impactor as you can get without creating a completely new mold for Impactor. So for that, I think they did an exceptional job. I don't own the toy, so I don't know how it really turned out, and again, it's a price prohibitive thing. So unfortunately, that one also just shy of making it on here. So all of that said, what is my number one toy of 2016? Well, for that, I have to go all the way back to January. I have to go to almost, or I guess as of this video recording, exactly 1 year ago, and look at the very first Masterpiece release of Takara's 2016. And that, he's back here. He's hidden. He's not really, trust me, he's there. But for me, it's Masterpiece Ironhide. Now, I could kind of lump him into the same vein as Inferno, where, well, not a whole lot of toy elements got worked in. It's very slanted toward the animation model. In the case of Ironhide, what else would you do with him? Would you, like, literally, like, I got the G1 Ironhide, like, sitting right here. Like, really, like, what kind of elements would you want coming from this? The flat head? You know, the big hole in his midsection? Is that what you want in there? Like, in that case, there's only so much to work with. And here's the thing, good Inferno toys have come out. There have been some decent Inferno toys that have been released. Ironhide has always come up short. You know, we got him in Universe 2 in a super over-complex toy that, for some reason, a boxy vehicle becoming a boxy robot just was beyond the grasp of the engineers. So they made this super complicated figure with a lot of weird choices for the mold, a really broken up looking vehicle mode, and not only did they leave a stripe off the vehicle so it didn't have his iconic look, he had a blue face for some reason. I don't know why. Like, Why were you blue-faced? I'm looking at him down here. Why am I talking to all my Ironhides while I'm trying to talk to you guys? It was a mess of a toy. And then we got the Combiner War version, which just does not work for Ironhide, does it? It doesn't have the bulk. It doesn't have the look of power that he has. And I'm pretty sure Ironhide doesn't use an axe. So what do we have? Well, we have the Masterpiece one at last. This is the Ironhide I've wanted since I was a kid. Now, again, you have clever engineering, but this is some of the most clever engineering. To have an entire, rear section of a vehicle, fold around and hide in the front section, that's a lot of work to get that to happen. And you also have a lot of little tricks, because it's not a box van into a box robot. It's more to that, because there is a subtle roundness to the vehicle mode's van, and a lot of external molding and a lot of details that don't exist on Ironhide. So to actually get those toy accurate details that the vehicle mode has, to actually turn into the sleek look of the robot mode, a lot of panels turn inside out, a lot of them fold over, and they all interlock and create this really good facade of the external Ironhide toy, which does an incredible job of hiding all of the detail and getting this van to seamlessly turn into the robot mode that we saw in the old cartoon. There's a few things about it that do bug me. His torso kind of goes in, where in the old model it goes out. So, but that's a minor quibble to what is an engineering accomplishment, because apparently it took about 30 plus years to figure out how to turn a van into that show model. I don't know why. It doesn't seem that hard, but that's how long it took. And it was worth the wait. It is really the Ironhide I always imagined it to be. And then you have a lot of cleverness again, the playfulness of Masterpiece. If you look inside the van mode's windshield, you see the face from the G1 toy's flat head. That's a really cool and really small element to include. Great, great little piece of nod to the original toy. You also have the accessory count. No Transformer to that day, and to this date, I think only matched by Ratchet. Just this sheer load of accessories this guy comes with, and a little rack to store them all on that looks like his sled from the G1 toy. Again, brilliant little touch. It even has a storage compartment for his spare face. So many good elements about this toy. And it's literally like almost everything Ironhide had. I think they only saved back like one accessory he had for the Amazon exclusive with the extra piece. But it's like literally, like, it's like G1 Ironhide was all about like a dozen things that he either used as weapons or came out of his wrist or anything like that. And it was all there. Like, really, brilliant job. So much about that toy I love. And especially because it's a toy that came together so well and finally accomplished something that I, to this day, over 30 years later, I still do not have a retail level Ironhide that strikes me as the real Ironhide. I have pretenders, I have ones that let me down, I have ones that just don't hold up to even the other toys in their toy line. This was the one. This is the one we finally got. And I'm still waiting for the one that I can just casually pluck out of the shelves and goof with, and it's not going to be overcomplicated. But Ironhide makes for an extremely fun toy with a lot to do and some brilliant engineering. I think some of the best Masterpiece has done to date. So that is why it is my toy of the year, and nothing in the 11 months following managed to top it for me. I could almost say Ratchet matched him, but my Ratchet broke right out of the box, so I can't say that. But that is my list. That is my top 10 Transformers of 2016. Let me know what yours is, or just what your favorite one was. Do you agree with the list? Is there anything you would have put on there? Let me know in the comments below, because I do want these vlogs to be a little bit of back and forth chatter between you guys and me. And who knows, if I actually get some spare time, I'll start answering anything in the comments. So that's going to do it for me. So it's a nice positive thing to start the year on. Well, at least to do a vlog on. And, you know, this is just trying to keep it a little bit upbeat and have a little bit of fun with you guys. So I wanted to get the positives of 2016 out there. For the negatives, well, that's not really my thing, but I tell you what, I think I know a guy.